So I want to talk about playing Hawaii high school sports from the perspective of someone who used to play and compete. Because as I look back on my time as an athlete, as well as sort of look forward to athletics and my two young sons, is it worth it? I mean, the way I see it, sports in Hawaii is a wonderful thing. It teaches things like teamwork and hard work and patience and sportsmanship. But I've also noticed that some families particularly take certain sports pretty seriously. So I want to explore that question by reflecting back on my experiences playing Hawaii high school volleyball, and maybe I think offer a broader and maybe a long-term perspective on school sports since it's been nearly 20 years. Well, sit. Oh! I'll go clean that up.
Hello from Hawaii.
So believe it or not, I was actually recruited to play high school volleyball. At least that's the story that I tell myself. So I was in PE classes one day and this lady walks up to me and she asked, "Are you Chris?" And I said, "Yeah." And she introduced herself as the McKinley High School volleyball coach. And she asked if I was interested in playing. And I said, "Yeah." And so she handed me this packet and it had all of the schedules for the summer workouts and practices. And she said if I was interested to go ahead and start showing up. And I was thinking, oh man, she must have heard about me playing volleyball and how good I was, been playing since I was 10 years old. But later I found out my dad actually emailed her. But still it impressed all my friends, so it's pretty nice. Now eventually when I got to high school, I tried out. But unfortunately, I didn't make the varsity team. Instead, the way that they set up the program was there was the varsity team and there was a developmental team, and those were typically the freshmen and sophomores, and they would still practice with the team and do all the drills, lift all the weights. But when it came time for like the serious practice, we had to kind of go off to the side. We also didn't play in any of the official games. We had our own games, but those were against other developmental teams from a few other high schools. Now, despite being on the developmental team, I still got to go to all of the volleyball games. The coach wanted me to be a line judge because back then, I don't know how it is now, but back then, each team had to provide one line judge, and that person would help the referees determine where the ball was in and out. So even if I didn't get to play officially my freshman year, it was still great to be a part of the team, to practice, and just to have that team camaraderie. Now, as a sophomore, I thought that was my year where I might have a chance to play on the varsity and move up. I had worked out a lot during the summer. I even bought those jump sole shoes so I can work on my vertical and my hops. But the thing is, I didn't make the team again. I was put on the developmental team, and that was a very tough time because some of my friends were actually able to move up from the developmental team to be on the varsity team, which meant they got to suit up and they got to play in games. Meanwhile, it felt like I was stuck doing the same things, setting up, getting the water, mopping the floors, not really getting a chance to play. And there were a lot of times where I actually felt like quitting. But I managed to stick through it, and instead that year, the coach decided to make me the stat person. So I'd have this worksheet and I'd sit on the bench and I'd just keep track of stats as well as certain rotations and substitutions. But it was still a tough season. I had to sit there and watch my friends play. And that season seemed to drag on forever. I just couldn't wait until it was over. So then came my junior year. And with my junior year came a brand new coach. And during the off season, I'd actually gotten a lot more confident. I don't know if I got better as a player, but I just got a lot more confident. And what was nice was the coach really helped to continue to build that confidence throughout the season. The new coach kept on the developmental team, but he didn't make them practice off to the side. They still had games that were on the weekends, but he didn't make them practice separate, and I thought that was really great. Everyone got to practice together as a team, and I think that brought us closer as a group. And because I had spent 2 years on the developmental team, I really tried to encourage those guys, tried to make them feel included because I knew how it felt. Not just 1 year of that, but 2 years of that. I played in every single game that season, which was highlighted by a couple of key aces against Kahuku in our first win. We ended up going to the playoffs that year, but we lost in the first round. And I'll admit that I was nervous that game. I had a bad game. But most importantly that season, I was just so thankful to be able to have an opportunity to play. And entering my senior year, I felt really good, felt confident, and It was nice to be one of the co-captains for our team. We still had that developmental team, so I tried to reach out to them and encourage them and make sure that they felt included. And when those guys would be doing some of those menial tasks like sweeping the floor, setting up the net, getting the water, I tried to join them whenever I could because I knew how it felt to do that. And I knew how nice it was that here's this senior doing this. Like, not that I'm above that, but it's just, here's this guy doing that. And it's like, wow, he's just trying to help. We had a really good regular season and we ended up in the playoffs again. This time we won our first round, so that felt really great. But we lost to Milani in the second round, and with that, my high school volleyball career was over. Now, I did end up playing intramural volleyball in college. In fact, I loved it so much that we played 3 times a week during my freshman year. Sophomore year was twice a week, and junior and senior year we'd go out and play once a week. But I never really played it competitively again, and that was it. Now, looking back all these years, I don't remember the wins, I don't remember the stats, I don't remember the awards. Instead, here are the 3 things that I do remember. My parents made it to every single game, even if I didn't play. Now that's huge, that my parents and my brother were always there at every single game, especially the ones during my first couple of years when I didn't even play. I was on the court, sitting or standing, but I never actually suited up. But they were always there to support me anyway. And when I eventually did get to play, it was so nice to see them. I'm sure they didn't want to always be there. I'm sure they were tired after work. I'm sure my brother didn't want to be there. But it was so nice to have at least those 3 people cheering for me. Because I know that there are some people on my team whose parents didn't go to any of their games. And the second thing that I keep with me is to make sure to include everyone on the team, even if they don't play. Because I had spent 2 years basically on the bottom, when it was my turn to rise and be given the opportunity, I remembered how it felt to be like that, and how sometimes I and our little side team was treated. And so when I had the opportunity and when I was in the position of power or more playtime, I tried to make sure to include some of those guys and just to talk to them and to make sure that they felt like they were part of the team. And the third thing is good sportsmanship and integrity is more important than winning. Now this one to me is absolutely huge because honestly, nobody really remembers who won state championships even last year, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Nobody really remembers. Of course, when it comes to volleyball, a lot of it is Punahou, but still, our memories are just so fleeting. But the sportsmanship and the integrity that you can learn through sports, winning or losing, to me, that's way more important. What is your true character when no one is watching, when there are no crowds and you're just practicing by yourself? How are you as a person? What are you thinking? How do you act? How do you treat others? Now in Hawaii, there are hundreds and thousands of former high school athletes, most of whom are not playing their sport anymore, or at the very most, maybe at a casual level. So looking back at all that effort, all that time, was it worth it? And I would say, yeah. It was worth it for me, but I think it's because I had a good relationship with the sport of volleyball. It was always my fun sport. It was the one sport where I could just play for hours because I just enjoyed it. It's the reason why in college I played 3 times a week for 2-3 hours at a time. I didn't care if we were winning. Of course, it's more discouraging if you're losing, but it didn't matter. I just wanted to be on the court and just have fun. And even as an adult, I have dreams of playing volleyball. Golf too, but I have dreams of playing volleyball. The other night I had this dream where I was back in Colorado and we were at the rec center playing volleyball. And for some reason, when I got the ball, it would go straight into the ground when I was trying to serve. It was embarrassing. Hold on, let me show you. So I was like here and I was serving the ball. And you know, when you serve the ball, it goes, you know, up and straight. But when I was serving the ball, it would go straight down into the ground. And for me, just touching the volleyball like this, it brings back so much memory. Like something inside of me just gets so excited. And even though I'm old now and I probably couldn't play very well, I just get so excited. And the thing is, I want my boys to have that relationship with whatever activity they're involved with, whether it be sports or art or something else, whatever it is, music. That's what I would love for them to have. And as my boys start to enter that youth sports age where they're playing soccer and baseball and martial arts, it makes me kind of wonder, how serious should we be? What is the relationship that we should have with that sport or activity? Because however long they do that activity or sport, I would love for them to be able, like me as an adult, to look back and whenever they just touch a volleyball or they bounce a basketball or they play a little bit of piano or whatever it is, I want that joy to come out of them. I want that little smile, that warm feeling that I'm experiencing when I see volleyball, when I get to touch one, when I see other people playing. I have a wonderful feeling just seeing that, just being a part of that, because it reminds me of when I used to play. And I think sometimes we as parents, as spectators, we sometimes forget that. You know, what is the point of yelling at the referees or the coach when the kid's only 5 years old? And as someone who's competed with the state's top athletes, looking back, all those accolades, all those awards, all those championships, they all fade. But it's those intangibles that I still carry with me today. And so again, I hope my boys can find something that they love to do. And we'll try to expose them to different things to see what they're interested or what they're not interested in. But I would never want to make the sport about me. Sometimes I think youth sports in general are more about the parents than they are about the actual kids. It's like something with the parents, they're trying to prove something or they're trying to live through their child. But really, if you think about how long these kids are actually going to play, most probably not past the age of 18. Maybe that puts it into more of a healthier perspective. You can still try hard and learn all these wonderful things, but maybe the whole purpose of sports is not to win, is not to compete at the highest level. You know, there's a lot of other important things that you can learn from sports that I think are way more important. But this is something as a parent that I'm still working through and something that I'm sure I'm going to encounter more and more here in Hawaii. So thanks for watching and aloha.
Hello